Good evening. This past Monday, the baseball world lost one of their greatest voices. The New York Yankees lost the heart and soul of their broadcast team. This past Monday, the longtime voice, the longtime radio voice of the New York Yankees passed away at the age of 87. Tonight, we pay our respects to the life of John Sterling. This is TXN Sports World. Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of TXN Sports World. I am your host, Anthony Florio. I am joined by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are maybe awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. If he is to come in, we will catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him back with us tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk. And that will start on a somber note as well. We'll explain at the end. John Sterling, the theatrical radio voice of the New York Yankees for parts of 36 seasons, passed away. The team and radio station WFAN announced on Monday. He was 87 years old. Sterling had heart bypass surgery this winter and was attended by healthcare aides at his home in Edgewater, New Jersey after the procedure. The Yankees said he died at a New Jersey hospital. Sterling called 5,651 games, 5,426 in the regular season, plus 225 postseason, including 5,060 in a row from September 1989 through July 2019. He retired in April 2024, just after that season's start, citing fatigue, then returned to broadcast Yankee games during the 2024 postseason when they went on their World Series run. Sterling came out of retirement to call Yankee games during the 2024 postseason. In a statement, the team said, and I quote, "We pause today, along with millions of Yankees fans around the world, to recognize the passing of one of our own. John Sterling breathed life and excitement into Yankee games for 36 years while wearing his passion for baseball and the Yankees on his sleeve. He informed and entertained generations of fans with a theatrical and unapologetic style that was uniquely his own. John treasured his role as the voice of the New York Yankees, and his enthusiasm for the art of broadcasting perfectly complemented our city and our fans. The symmetry between John and his audience was both undeniable and magical, and his signature calls will resonate for as long as we put on pinstripes, especially after every Yankees win." Sterling was on the air for 24 Yankee postseason trips, 7 World Series appearances, and 5 World Series championships. Known for his signature, "The Yankees win" victory call and his personalized home run calls, Sterling spent his last 20 seasons with the Yankees working alongside Susan Waldman. Through his unique style and passionate play-by-play calls, Sterling endeared himself to generations of players and fans as radio voice of the Yankees from 1989 to 2024. Major League Baseball said that in a statement. His signature punctuation of Yankees victories, including calling the final out of 5 World Series championships. Sterling's call for a player's home run became as treasured a part of a Yankees identity as an initial set of pinstripes or a championship ring. As rookies prepared for debuts and former opponents arrived in trades, fans speculated how he would label the newcomer's first long ball. From "Bernie Goes Boom, Burn Baby Burn" for Bernie Williams, to "It's a Jeter Jolt" for Derek Jeter, to "It's an A-Bomb" from A-Rod for Alex Rodriguez, the Jambino for Jason Giambi, and a Thrilla from Godzilla for Hideki Matsui. Sterling created personal stamps resonating from the clubhouse to the bleachers. He was also known for some viral bloopers: home run calls on balls that were caught, catches that weren't, fair balls that were foul, and other foibles. Born Josh Sloss on the 4th of July, 1938, Sterling grew up in Manhattan and left college to work for radio stations. He wanted to be a broadcaster since hearing the Eddie Bracken Show in the 1940s. Sterling started his radio career in 1960 at a station in Wellsville, New York. He said, "I was preparing this all my life. It was easy. I could always open my mouth and talk." Sterling cited Mel Allen, Russ Hodges, and Jim Carvelis as influences. He wound up joining Allen in the history of memorable Yankee broadcasters along with Red Barber, Phil Rizzuto, Bill White, and Frank Messer. He also announced games for the NBA's Washington Bullets and Morgan State football in his early years, and gained notoriety for shrieking "Islanders goal, Islanders goal" during the NHL team's games from 75 to 78. He also called games for the NBA's Nets from 75 to 80. Sterling's first connection with the Yankees was during WMCA pregame radio talk shows from 1971 to 78. In MF, he moved to Atlanta and worked for Your Braves from 1982 to 1987, and Hawks from 81 to 89 before switching to the Yankees, where he replaced Hank Greenwald. Sterling was seldom in the clubhouse and dressed in Brooks Brothers suits, even though he was on the radio. He partnered with Jay Johnstone from 89 to 90, Joe Angel, 1991, Michael Kay from 1992 to 2001, Charlie Steiner from 2002 to 2004, and Susan Waldman since 2005. Sterling and Waldman were inducted into the New York State Broadcasters Hall of Fame in 2016. Sterling was proud of his unique style. He said, "Harry Carey told me some years ago," he recalled in 2024, of the famous Cubs and White Sox broadcaster, and he says, "John, all the guys are great. We just have different styles, and no one has a more different style than I have." This is definitely a close to home for me because it is well documented. I am a diehard New York Yankees fan. And this man was the voice of my childhood and my adolescent years and my adult years. And he was the voice of the dynasty years, when they won the World Series in 1996 and then won those 3 straight titles in 98, 99, and 2000. And then finally winning another one in 2009. And of course, 2024, going back to the World Series. I'm glad he got to have one last postseason run before his passing. And I'll tell you, good old MF Michael Fletcher may not be a diehard Yankee fan like me, but if you've noticed some of his calls over the years in baseball, because he is our baseball voice, there were times where he echoed John Sterling when he would say at the end of a game, "Ball game over." Sometimes he even used that during the World Series. He would say, "Ball game over, series over." And this team, whether it was the Yankees or another team, are World Series champions, or they're moving on to the League Championship Series or the World Series or what have you. That's how much of an influence he had on any sports broadcaster. And this is a true story I'm about to share with you all. When MF and I met in 1994, we're approaching 32 years of friendship. And let me tell you something. One of the many things that MF and I share a love for was broadcasting. We used to pretend to be commentators when we were 10, 11 years old. That's how, and from that day forward, 32 years later, back then we didn't have this platform. We wish we had this platform back then, because we would have had a lot more fun on this if we had this back in 94 and 95 in the 90s and the early 2000s. But thanks to this platform here, we finally have the voice that we've been wanting to have for a long time. And it's an honor and a privilege that we get to do this. It's like what Pat McAfee says at the start of his show: sports are the greatest. And we are so grateful, honored, blessed, privileged, lucky enough to chat about it week in and week out. And John Sterling, definitely one of the many influences that have influenced our broadcasting styles. And he is going to be sorely missed. And It made me very happy to know that on Monday, before the Yankees went up against the Baltimore Orioles in the fourth and final game of a 4-game series, they could have very easily gotten overwhelmed. They could have been, you know, over. They could have been overwhelmed by the moment. They could have been emotionally rattled in the whole 9 yards. They very easily could have postponed the game to another day. But they didn't do that because they knew that's not what John Sterling wanted. John Sterling would have wanted them to play. And oh boy, they played all right. They came to play. And they absolutely smashed the Baltimore Orioles 12-1. And Michael Kay channeled John Sterling on a home run by Aaron Judge. And oh man, that definitely was a special moment to say the very least. And I'm not the only Yankee fan in our brotherhood. Of course, our dear friends Mike Silvera and Kevin Dexter, they're also diehard Yankee fans, and this man right here was a part of it. I mean, he was part of all those glory years, from the Mattingleys to the Bernies and the O'Neills and the Tinos and the Jeters and the Posadas and the Pettits and the Riveras and the A-Rods and the Giambis and the Matsuis and you name a legend, he was probably there for all of it. So, on behalf of all of us here at TXN Sports World, our thoughts, our prayers, and our condolences to the family, friends, and fans of John Sterling and all Yankee fans. Yes, we are in mourning for this great man, but we are definitely going to relive his memories here tonight. And I'm sorry, this is a little close to home for me.
Yes.
Um, as the diehard Yankee fan of this group, and he's going to be sorely missed. And there's one thing that I'm hoping for, honestly. Even if this team never wins another World Series again in my lifetime, I'm good with that because I got to celebrate 5 of them. And I got to celebrate it with this man. This man was on the call for all of them. The dynasty years in the 90s and the 2000s, and I got all the championship shirts to prove it. And oh my goodness. But I'm hoping. I mean, I'd be fine if they never won another one in my lifetime. But if there was ever a year that I would love to see them win at least one more, I can't think of a better way for them to honor this man's memory than by winning it all this year. 2 years ago, they came close. If they didn't have that self-destruction in Game 5 against the Dodgers, that series is a completely different series. I'm telling you all that right now. But to John Sterling, on behalf of my fellow Yankee fans and all of us here at TXN Sports World, to you, sir, we more than ever simply say to you, thank you for the memories, thank you for the inspiration, and thank you for John Sterling. Rest in peace, good sir. We will never, ever forget you. Say hello to all the legendary Yankees up there in heaven for us. We love you, man. Not much more to say. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. A sad day in the sports broadcasting field.
Yeah.
One of many influences right here. This man right here, John Sterling.
There's many guys that we've been utilizing, doing eulogies for certain people, from the Dick Enbergs. Recently we had, all these other great legendary voices of the game. And John Sterling is one of them. He is the soundtrack of the New York Yankees. Starting in his career, he was there for that, like you said, the magical run, during that World Series run in the 90s. when the Yankees were reeling off, they reeled off three in a row, making like four straight World Series and almost got the 2001 World Series, Anthony. If it wasn't for Luis Gonzalez's epic blooper in Game 7, uh, that could have been, four in a row for the Yankees. Um, there's nothing bad to say about this guy because, like you said, the stuff that he did in his entire career was without a doubt one of the most unique things that you can say about a broadcaster. And, when you're a Yankee fan, and I know you are, I know Kevin Dexter is, the Keenans, and even our former colleague, you know certain classic moments in New York Yankee history because it was there. And the way that he narrated it made it even more casculating. You know, one of the lines that I always used to hear was he always used to do was when he knows it's going to be a home run, he used to say he hit it high, he hit it far, and it is gone. And in that kind of way, you knew right then and there, like something big just happened for New York. And then, yes, he always had the little quote, the little something extra, the all rise for the judge, or like you said, the A bomb from A Rod. So you get the picture of just the little nuances of each member of the New York Yankees. It didn't matter who they were. He had a little something that it resonated. Only Yankee fans can relate to this. And the thing is that it didn't matter what game it was. You know, Obviously, and one thing I remember was the infamous quote, and I've been using, and as you know, Anthony, I've been using this a lot more now. Is the ball game over, and that team wins? So it's always been that. I don't know why, but I always try to use something signature. And for some odd reason, John Sterling was that guy. Like, especially my World Series calls lately. And I think it's been for the last, I want to say 3 years, 4 years, I've kind of been tinkering with it a little bit, utilizing the John Sterling quote, because that's kind of been my ode, my little tip of the cap to him. And even one of my friends um called it out, saying, "Whoa, he's using John Sterling," but not in the way that it was. And it's not that I meant to do it. It just felt right at the moment. You always, as a commentator, you always think about what is going to be that call? What is going to be the moment that's going to resonate with the people? Because the soundtrack of history is going to be remembered forever. It's how do you do it? How do you incorporate it? How do you create it? Broadcasting is a storytell, and especially on the radio, like John Sterling. Sterling had to make you feel what you're watching. He gives you the narration that I don't think a lot of people can do in such a great way. And he did. You know, like Vince Scully, like Dick Enberg, like all the guys in history of Major League Baseball. You can talk about all the other great names, all the other great commentators. Harry Carey, Chip, Skip Carey, who is representing the Atlanta Braves. You had those guys that they were the soundtrack of 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 the game. John Sterling is that man. John Sterling is that guy. John Sterling is, he's forever. And that's why we appreciate and we loved the contributions that he made to the game. Because, like I said, there's parts of this that is life. There's the TV side of it, where you get the visual of it. And then there's the radio side. And the radio side is the thing that makes me want to say that this man was so unique and so amazing. From the first pitch that he played to the final call, that unfortunately his last call was the World Series loss to the Dodgers. But he always was the consummate professional. And that's the one thing that I think we can forever, that will always be very true. He was respected, well loved, well appreciated by everybody. And this wasn't just a loss for the Yankees. This was a loss for Major League Baseball and for the radio sports community. They lost an icon. They lost a legend. And for me, I was fortunate enough to listen to him, not just for, Yankee games, but just in general. You know, I was able to listen to a few games, and that's what I always remember is that he always knew how to narrate a game and make me feel like, dude, I'm in Yankee Stadium, and the way he presents it is such a unique way. I think that's something that I know you, Anthony, love to bring. I would love to bring to the table because it's that kind of a game that makes us enjoy it more. And I think that's the big thing, and that's the thing that we're always going to remember. We're gonna miss you, John. Thank you for the contributions that you made to the game. Because, like you said, us guys, we're fortunate enough now because we get to live this part. But it's guys like you who made us believe that we could be here in this part of the world. So rest easy, my friend, until we meet again. And I'm pretty sure you're probably doing Yankee games up in heaven tonight. Even though I know the Yankees are not playing, I know you probably were working that game on Monday after you passed. I'm sure the pearly gates and the Yankee fans that's in heaven, they probably enjoyed you because now they probably have a true icon that's gonna be narrating the games up there, man. So you may not be here on Earth, but there's always a broadcast booth somewhere, and you're probably on it right now, and you deserve it. Anthony, let's move on.
Man, hard to move on, but the Yankees will be wearing the special patches to honor the memory of John Sterling for the remainder of this season.
Yeah.
And they played earlier this afternoon, and they smashed the Texas Rangers 9-2 today. So go figure. A month into this season, if you had told me, MF, that our two teams would have the best record in the game, wow, how about that, huh?
Mm.
How cool is that? I mean, we've seen that movie twice before. Could we get it a third time? You never know.
Well, we'll never know.
That would be something.
Still early, but I like it right now. I like where we're heading. I can say that.
Amen to that. So so with that being said, as hard as it is to move on, we will move on, and this show tonight will be dedicated obviously to the memory of John Sterling. And initially, the docket tonight was going to be just the Stanley Cup and NBA playoff second round preview and some UFL stuff, but I came across some major breaking news that was too big to put off. This is
Actually,
something
we
that
do actually have one other thing we should add to the docket, Anthony, and I think we should talk about the lottery, the NHL lottery.
yes, indeed.
We should
And
add that too, but we'll do that in a little bit. But yeah, this one needs to be addressed.
this is, with all due respect, I think this is a little bit bigger than that.
Yeah.
So here we go. The men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments are expanding to 76 teams. The NCAA announced today. It is the first time the men's tournament has expanded since 2011, and the first time the women's tournament has expanded since 2022. Tim Sands, the chair of the Division I Board of Directors and the president at Virginia Tech, he said, and I quote, "Expanding the Division I men's and women's basketball championships is the right decision for the student athletes and programs that will now have access to the greatest events in college sports. As NCAA leaders, we are especially excited to provide additional, highly competitive games for fans who look forward to March Madness every year." The expansion from 68 teams to 76 teams marks the men's tournament's largest increase since it moved to 64 teams in 1985. It went from 64 to 65 in 2001 and then added 3 more teams in 2011 to form the first 4. With the increase to 76, the first 4 doubleheaders on back-to-back days in Dayton will be replaced by a 12-game opening round. Yeah, you heard that. 12-game opening round. The Tuesday and Wednesday of the men's tournament will feature, listen to this, 12 games played by 24 teams in 2 different cities. There will now be 3 games each day in Dayton and 3 games each day in a second city yet to be determined, with sources telling ESPN's Pete Thamel that the second site is expected to be west of the Eastern time zone to help with logistics. On the women's side, the 12 opening round games will be played on the Wednesday and Thursday between Selection Sunday and the beginning of the round of 64 on Friday, and across 12 of the campus sites designated as first and second round hosts. Half of the 24 opening round teams will be the lowest seeded automatic qualifiers. The others will be the lowest seeded at-large teams. The traditional 64-team first round and ensuing rounds will remain the same in both the men's and women's tournaments. Keith Gill, the commissioner, he's the chair of the men's basketball committee and commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference. He said, and I quote, "March Madness is the best postseason in all of sports, and this new format will continue that legacy by producing even more compelling games for fans and student athletes." Movement toward expanding the NCAA tournament has been ongoing for more than 3 years as the college football playoff expanded and college athletes contended with conference realignment and the growth of the 4 biggest conferences. In January 2023, the NCAA Division I Board of Directors approved the Transformation Committee's recommendation to expand all sports championship events to include 25% of teams. The Men's Basketball Committee began discussing expanding the field that summer. The NCAA president, or should I say, the NCAA presented expansion plans to Division I conference commissioners in the summer of 2024, including options to increase the fields to 72 or 76 teams. NCAA President Charlie Baker publicly endorsed the move in the spring of 2025 and reiterated his support on multiple occasions, pointing to access as the biggest reason for expansion. Baker said in February, "From my point of view, the more teams we can get into the tournament and make it work logistically and mathematically, the better. It gives more kids the opportunity to experience that." Although potential expansion for the 2026 NCAA tournament was tabled last summer, momentum among the decision makers and conference commissioners was clearly headed in the direction of expansion. The various committees that needed to approve the decisions, the Division I men's and women's basketball committees, the Division I men's and women's basketball oversight committees, the Division I finance committee, the Division I board of directors, and the NCAA board of governors officially voted to expand today. Wow. How about that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's not 68 anymore. Oh no.
It's
We
76
talking
now.
76.
Yep.
Whew. I mean,
I know a lot of
MF,
people. Yeah, I'm just
what
gonna
do we
dive
make of
right on
this?
in.
As the voice of March Madness, what
Yeah,
says you?
and I know a lot of people at first were like, "This is a money grab." Let's be realistic. Let's call it the way we see it. This is without a doubt a money grab. This is the fat cats getting more money, getting an opportunity, getting more than what they're asking for. Now, where is the line when you get to 76? How do you incorporate, what's going to be the makeup of the 76? Now, you talked about certain ways, the certain looks, the certain identities. And the one thing we always are hearing is this going to be great for the mid majors? Because does that give them an opportunity to sneak in? Like the Miami of Ohio. If this is the actual setup where maybe they were the last team in on this year, they would firmly be in under this new format.
Absolutely.
They would have easily made the NCAA tournament, and there would have been no debate about this. It's just, where do you draw the line? So you're saying 1 to 64 is going to be kind of the guarantees. 65 through 76 is going to be the quote unquote the up in the airs. These are going to be the ones that needs to fight for their spots. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm excited for the tournament, but I also have to realize is, what is the makeup going to look like? Because that's going to be the biggest difference maker. Is how are they going to incorporate the tournament? How's it going to look like? The makeup, the whole 9 yards. That's going to become the biggest difference maker, and that's going to determine it. Is, you know what's that going to look like once we get to the tournament? So I'm excited for it, but I also have that apprehension like everybody else does, because it's really what's really going to happen. So without a doubt, this is going to be a very interesting situation. And I think for it to happen this year, so the next tournament that we're going to have is going to be literally the largest tournament of all time. Like, the NCAA tournament is going to be 76 teams. The road to the Final Four is going to get even more wilder than ever before, which means I'm going to have quite the workout going into this tournament coming up, Anthony, because it's not 68 anymore. That means there's maybe one or two more rounds that we're going to have to walk through just to get to the tournament. So I'm excited, but the thing is that it won't affect us commentary wise, because we always do our job is always, once we get to the tournament, we hardly ever do the Dayton games or the first four matchups. So it won't have that much of effect on us. It just makes us wonder, it kind of gives the teams who are on the bubble, it gives them a bigger shot, a better shot to actually make the tournament. So if you're a mid-major, or you're a lower tier, or if you're a lower tier team of the big conference, that's
Bubble.
where it becomes very more interesting, to say the very least. So nothing to say, Anthony. It's yours.
What about the bubble teams?
Yeah, like I said, I think that's going to be the bigger thing. That's going to be the biggest. I think that may be the bigger thing more than anything else, because it gives them a better shot to get in. You know.
Man, this is going to be something. I mean, It's very exciting to think about. I mean, take a look at that screenshot right there. How does that look to you? Get a look at that on the right hand on the screen there. That's what the bracket is going to look like next year and forward. That's what the 76 team bracket. That's just a little sample of what you're going to see when we get to March Madness in 2027. Man, that is going to be something. Cannot wait for that. So, yeah, very exciting announcement. I mean, we're always excited. We're always excited when it comes to the NCAA tournament every time it comes around. But the details, once again, um, 76 total teams. The 8 additional teams are at-large selections. The 12 lowest seeded automatic qualifiers and the 12 lowest seeded at-large teams will play in the opening round, previously known as the first 4. 12 games with 6 at-large and 6 automatic qualifier games each will be played as triple headers on Tuesday and Wednesday. The 12 teams advancing from these games would join the other 52 teams in the round of 64. 6 of the games played Tuesday and Wednesday will continue to be played in Dayton, Ohio, while the other 6 games will be played on Tuesday and Wednesday at a yet-to-be-determined site. Man, I mean, we always get excited about it, but we're a month removed from the last March Madness. A month ago, we saw the Michigan Wolverines cut down the nets for the first time since 1989 in an awesome moment for them. But, I mean, 2027, we're going to have 76 teams. I mean, the bubble teams, the mid-majors, it's going to make that competition even more exciting. And we here cannot wait for it. And we're a month removed from what was another incredible March Madness. I mean, I'm already excited. I'm already excited for next March Madness, and we got 10 months. We got to wait 10 months for this. So, but then again, with how fast time goes by nowadays, it'll be here before you know it. So, but my goodness, I mean, blockbuster announcement, and we're all here for it, and I cannot wait. It's going to be something else. So with that being said, we're going to move on to our other big story of the week that needs to be addressed here. The 2026 NHL Draft Lottery, which was held this past, well, they had it this past, I believe it was Tuesday night, I believe. And the 2026 NHL Draft will take place at the KeyBank Center in Buffalo on June 26th for the first round, and rounds 2 through 7 will all take place on June 27th. The order for each round is determined by the order that teams finished the 2025-26 regular season and the 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs. But the first round order was altered by the draft lottery conducted Tuesday. And here's how the first 16 picks of round 1 are going to go. At number 16, it'll be the Washington Capitals. Number 15, the St. Louis Blues by way of the Detroit Red Wings. Number 14, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Number 13, the New York Islanders. Number 12, the New Jersey Devils. Number 11, the St. Louis Blues. Number 10, the Nashville Predators. Number 9, the Florida Panthers. Number 8, the Winnipeg Jets. Number 7, the Seattle Kraken. Number 6, the Calgary Flames. Number 5, my and MF's New York Rangers. Number 4, Matt Ward's Chicago Blackhawks. Number 3, the Vancouver Canucks. Number 2, our dear friend Bill McConnell, his San Jose Sharks. And with the number 1 pick in the NHL draft, it goes to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Next year is going to be the 60th year. It will mark 60 years since their last Stanley Cup championship. And here's a team that has had so many playoff disappointments over the last, 25, 30 years, maybe even more than that or so. I mean, how many close calls has this team had over those 30 plus years? Going back to 93 when they were in the Western Conference Finals in Game 7 against the LA Kings. 1999 going to the Eastern Conference Finals before losing to the Buffalo Sabres. I think they got back there again in 2002 but lost to the Carolina Hurricanes, and of course that monumental collapse against the Boston Bruins in the first round in Game 7 in 2013. I mean, that's a moment we're going to remember. But they've got the number one pick. Could this be what ends up making? Could this be the start of them getting back to the promised land they've been wanting to get back to for 60 years? The longest drought. I think they got the longest drought of any team in professional sports right now. So this is huge for them. And MF mentioned, he also mentioned when we talked about this in our TXN Sports World Messenger chat, this benefits the Boston Bruins. Because the Maple Leafs got a top 5 pick, the Boston Bruins are going to receive the Maple Leafs first round draft pick for next year. So if the Maple Leafs have another bad season, the Boston Bruins could majorly benefit from this in next year's draft in 2027. So they had, you think of Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews and all these great young talents that they have. They just could not put it together this year. They ended up being one of the biggest disappointments in the NHL this year. Could this be the shot in the arm that they need? I remember back in 2020 when our Rangers won the draft, and who did we end up getting? We ended up getting Alexis Lafreniere, and Lafreniere has been a dynamo ever since we got him. But this is huge for them. So congratulations to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And hey, top 5 for our Rangers, we'll take that. That's still good. We'll take top 5. Hopefully we can get somebody who will, get us back to the promised land after we stunk up the joint this season, although they did come on strongly towards the end. But they were more in a spoiler role than anything else. So, but that's next year. So not much more. MF, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the winners of the NHL draft lottery. You saw the Cheshire Cat grin on the face of former Maple Leaf great Matt Sundin, and the Maple Leafs number 1 in the 2026 NHL draft as they will go into their 60-year anniversary of their last Cup win.
Yeah, absolutely, and a great moment for them. Look, I know a lot of people were yelling about how they rigged it, and here's the thing: this year the NHL draft lottery was a little more different. They actually did the ping pong ball, so they did it during the live drawing of it, and in order to show how they were going to do it, they actually did the process live in front, and it was absolutely the right thing to do. So for me to take away the tanking, to take away the debate of, oh, this is a wrong, how everybody always cries about, oh, they rigged it for this team, they rigged it for that team, they rigged it for whoever. Now what they did was they did the 4-ball combination. So, and the beauty of it was ESPN showed you this is the 4-ball combination that it needs to be. And if a particular number comes up that correlates with your team, this is where how much the percentage goes of your team possibly getting the number 1 overall. So for all of us, it actually makes it more legitimate, and that there's no way that it can be rigged. So If you looked at it, the number one went to Toronto. Number two, Anthony, I believe you said San Jose.
Yes.
So then the top two gets the lottery. So they both won the lottery. So they elevated. But then the lower tier teams, they go by the records. So the Rangers, who were projected to get third going in, they got punished. So did Vancouver. Vancouver, who had the top two, possibly the number one overall going in, they lost out. So they got taken out. So you had a number of different things going on in the whole process. It was unbelievable how it played out. But you know what? Credit to the NHL for doing it this way. And I got to say it, I like this format even better. You want to know why? Because now it negates the mentality that, oh, they rigged it for this certain team. They rigged it for that team. No, that takes away the rigging part of it because now we see it as it happens live for the whole world. There's no more debate. If the NBA does it under this format, there's no more. You can no longer say that this thing is rigged. It actually takes it completely out now. So unbelievable. Great job. Congratulations, Toronto, for winning the draft. So, Anthony, it's yours.
All right. So with that being said, we are now going to move on to what you've been all waiting for ever since we came on tonight. Our preview of the second round of the Stanley Cup and NBA playoffs. So, how should we do it? Should we start it with the Stanley Cup and then the NBA? How do you want to do it? I mean, we can do it either way.
What started first? NHL?
When it comes to second round, I want to say it was.
Then we'll do NHL first.
Yeah, I do believe they started it first before the NBA did. So, because I know Philly and Carolina started it last Saturday. And then we just have to quickly see where the second round in the NBA started. It might have been the next night. So, actually, yeah, it actually started Monday. So, yes, it is the Stanley Cup. All right, so we'll do the Stanley Cup second round preview, and then we'll do the NBA after that. So we're gonna move on now to our preview of the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we are going to start it off with the series between, and it is a well, let me just get my okay. 8 teams have been eliminated from the 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs, and 8 remain as the second round begins. With the field now cut in half, there are some heavyweight matchups with a spot in the conference finals on the line. The marquee showdown of the second round is between the Colorado Avalanche and the Minnesota Wild, 2 legitimate Stanley Cup contenders. The fact that Minnesota's Quinn Hughes and Colorado's Cale Makar will be on the ice at the same time is enough of a selling point. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. That series could provide 7 games of world-class hockey. After snapping a 14-season playoff drought, the Buffalo Sabres are now trying to reach the conference finals for the first time since 2007. The Montreal Canadiens stand in their way after taking down the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round, and that series will showcase 2 of the most electric buildings in the NHL. Elsewhere, the Vegas Golden Knights and Anaheim Ducks will do battle in a clash of styles with one elite defensive team taking on a high-powered offense. And speaking of defense, don't expect there to be much room on the ice when the Carolina Hurricanes and Philadelphia Flyers go head-to-head. So with all that being said, we're going to start it off, and the first series, it's the I guess we could call this the Metropolitan Division Final. The Carolina Hurricanes versus the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers pulled off a minor upset in the first round, taking a 3-0 series lead against the veteran Pittsburgh Penguin team before closing out the series in Game 6. Philadelphia was able to spread the wealth offensively with 14 different players scoring at least a goal in round 1. Rookie Porter Martone made his presence known, scoring twice against Pittsburgh, including the game winner in Game 1. Flyers goaltender Dan Vladar was Philly's MVP, posting a remarkable 1.61 goals against average across the 6 games, capped by a 42 save shutout in the series clinching win. The Hurricanes did not have much trouble in the opening round of the playoffs, sweeping the Ottawa Senators to reach the second round for the 6th consecutive season. Taylor Hall led Carolina in scoring with 2 goals and 5 assists, and 23-year-old Logan Stankoven had a team-high 4 goals. Similar to Vladar's standout performance in the crease for Philadelphia, Frederik Andersen stood on his head for Carolina, leading all goaltenders this postseason with a 1.10 goals against average and a .955 save percentage. I was not going to sleep on Philly after their performance in round 1, but the Carolina Hurricanes, I got to be honest with you, they are arguably the most complete team in the Eastern Conference and showed that when they swept Ottawa. Oh, by the way, they won again tonight. They're up 3-0 on the Philadelphia Flyers. They defeated them tonight 4-1. Game 4, I believe, is Saturday night. I'm already going on the record. I think they're going to get another sweep here. My initial thought going into this series, I had Carolina winning regardless. Honestly, I thought it was going to be 6 games. But after what I've seen in these first 3 games, I would be surprised if Philly gets one. I'm calling for another sweep. 4-0 sweep. Carolina wins this series. And regardless of who comes out of that Buffalo-Montreal series, they are going to have their hands full. I still think Colorado is the favorite, but I believe Carolina is the biggest threat to them when it comes to the Stanley Cup right now. Hurricanes in 4. Not much more. MF. There is no doubt in my mind, and I don't even need to go Barry Melrose mode here. I don't even need to go Bill Clement mode or Eddie Olczyk mode to your Doc and Gary Thorne. For my money, the Carolina Hurricanes are the most complete team in the Eastern Conference. Tell me when I'm telling lies and change my mind.
No, you're absolutely right. Carolina's been a buzzsaw. They were the best team earlier in the year. I think a lot of people had them possibly going to the Cup final, and they've been proving it. Philadelphia was very fortunate that they knocked out Pittsburgh when they did. And now you're looking at them and you're thinking, oh my God, Carolina is the team to beat. I think, other than maybe one other team out west, I don't see anybody threatening Carolina. I think Carolina, you're absolutely right. There's a very good chance Carolina could be the one, and they might be able to end everything and win the Stanley Cup. Like, they're that deep, they're that amazing. So we'll see, but I agree. Carolina should win this series, and 4-0 sweep. Yeah, but I kind of feel like Philly's gonna at least get one game out of this, so I'm gonna go 5. I think Philly will get at least one game out of the series, but Carolina will win the series. So it's yours.
Now, I it's not often that we do this, but usually we're primarily Eastern Conference guys, right?
Yes,
But
normally.
this is one of the rare times where we're going out west because this series was too big. We couldn't put it off. We got the Minnesota Wild versus the Colorado Avalanche. Yes, Colorado is up 2-0. Colorado winning game 1, a Wild game 1 on Sunday night, 9 to
Oh my
6.
God.
Woo. Yeah, it's a wonder you even have a voice left, MF, after all those Doc and Gary Thorne scores you were letting out in that game.
Yeah.
In game 1. I mean, you made Doc and Gary Thorne very, very proud, no doubt about it. And but game 2, more of a dominant Avs win, 2-0. They're up. Game 3 of that series is scheduled for Saturday night in Minnesota. So not much more. MF, we could call this the Central Division Final.
Yep.
The Colorado Avalanche and the Minnesota Wild, two proven Cup contenders, and that's why this was we labeled this as a heavyweight fight going in. But unless Minnesota gets going, this could end up being
Open
a
and
lot shorter
shut
than
case.
we.
I
Yeah,
don't think I think Minnesota will get back. There's no doubt because the thing is, you got to think about it this way: Minnesota, Colorado will hold serve. They won their first two games, which was expected. Minnesota's better at home than they are on the road, and I really believe that Minnesota will figure it out. I think it's too early to say that this is going to be a one-sided series. Now, if Colorado gets either game three or game four, this may be an open and shut case. Then this thing ends in five. But I don't believe that is the case. Colorado will win the series. That's my prediction. As a
yes,
matter of fact, Anthony, you remember about a couple of weeks ago, I called for the Avalanche to win the Stanley Cup.
same here.
So I think it will, but I think it's about to get rough. So I think it's going to go 2-2. I think Colorado, I this could go 7. This has got the makings like this could go 7. But I'm going to go Colorado in 6. That's my official prediction. But I would not be surprised if it goes 7. I do believe Minnesota will get the next 2 to bring this back to a 2-2 affair. And it's yours.
For the first time since 2015, the Minnesota Wild, have reached the second round of the playoffs, snapping a streak of 8 consecutive first-round losses. Will they reach their first Western Conference final since 2003? Maybe, but it will take a Herculean effort. The Avalanche looked like the President's Trophy winners in their clean first-round sweep of the Los Angeles Kings. Colorado allowed just 5 goals while finding different ways to beat one of the NHL's best defensive teams. The Kings actually gave the Avalanche a decent preview of what they'll see, of what they were going to see in this round, except Minnesota is a much bigger threat offensively. The Wild, particularly Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber, defended the Stars exceptionally well. Dallas was limited to 4 5-on-5 goals over the course of 6 games, and Jesper Wallstedt was impeccable in goal for the Wild. All that said, the Avalanche will present 2 major problems for Minnesota. The first is center depth. Rupe Hintz missed the entire series for the Dallas Stars, and that leveled the playing field down the middle. Well, Colorado has a huge positional edge there. The Avalanche have been rolling with Nathan McKinnon, Brock Nelson, Nazem Kadri, and Jack Drury as their centers. The Wild simply cannot match that, even if Ryan Hartman and Joel Eriksson Ek are playing well. The second issue for Minnesota is that its penalty kill was a sieve against Dallas. The Wild killed off just 60% of the power plays they faced, and while the Avs power play has not exactly been humming this season, there are enough weapons on the ice to do major damage. Center depth and special teams will carry the Colorado Avalanche to the Western Conference Finals. Colorado wins the series. I agree. I initially thought 7, but I'm thinking 6 now. So that's my story there. Next series, we're going to get into the other Western Conference series. The Anaheim Ducks squaring off against the Vegas Golden Knights, and that series is tied at 1 game apiece. Vegas winning game 1 on Monday night 3-1. Anaheim evening the score in Vegas last night 3-1. Game 3 scheduled for tomorrow night in Anaheim. Series 1 up. All right. I'll tell you what. No matter how disappointing the Edmonton Oilers were in the regular season, the Ducks were dealt the difficult task of playing a team led by Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in the first round of the playoffs. Instead of wavering in the presence of star power, Anaheim forced Edmonton to play their game, ultimately taking down the back-to-back Stanley Cup, or should I say back-to-back Western Conference champions in 6 games. The Ducks youngsters, like Cutter Gauthier at age 22, Leo Carlson at 21, and Jackson Lacombe at 25, were all top contributors in the opening round, while veterans Alex Killorn, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, Michael Granlund, who's played in 960 NHL games, our old friend MF, Chris Kreider, 129 postseason games. God, I miss him so much. And Troy Terry, 8 years in the NHL, also found themselves atop the score sheet. The Golden Knights won 3 straight games against the Utah Mammoth, overcoming a 2-1 series deficit to advance to the second round for the third time in 4 years. Vegas showed resilience in a tight series, winning back-to-back overtime games, Game 5 in double overtime, despite suboptimal goaltending from Carter Hart. Anaheim got past 2 of the league's top players in the first round. They'll once again have to face firepower up front with Jack Eichel and Mitch Marner already showing their impact early this postseason. If the Golden Knights get sufficient goaltending, I give them the slight edge. I think this series goes the distance. I think it goes 7, but I'm going with the Vegas Golden Knights to win the series. I think Vegas wins it. I got Vegas in 7, but I am not sleeping on Anaheim after what they did to Edmonton. So, not much more to say. MF, I say Vegas in 7, but watch out for Anaheim. I mean, they just knocked out the 2-time defending Western Conference champions and that 2-headed monster of McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah.
How? I still can't believe they did that.
What they did, because I was watching this one very intently because of the fact that a lot of the times I'm more fortunate enough to watch the West more than the East because of my work commitment. So I was
Absolutely.
watching a lot of the Western Conference playoffs, and this game I got to see a lot of Anaheim versus Edmonton. What Anaheim did was they forced Edmonton to say, okay, you're not going to beat us with Draisaitl. You're not going to beat us with Connor McDavid. We're going to take them out of the play. You're going to have to beat us with somebody else. And Anaheim defensively did an unbelievable job of shutting down Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And on top of that, they were basically doing counterattacks. They were forcing, basically, they were going to be more of a defensive team on their side, that they were going to force that if you made a mistake, we were going to make you pay for those mistakes. And that's why Anaheim did what they did. That's why they ended up winning the series as they did. Because they actually were the counterpuncher. They let them do the first shot, but then had a response, or they were ready to knock you out. That's why they won the series as they did. It was an unbelievable job. An unbelievable job. And trust me, you could not have done anything better than that. So for me, I think it's going to be a great series. I think it's going to be it's going to be a hard fight. But if you want me to say a team that I think is going to win, it's easy. Vegas Golden Knights. I think they have the firepower, they got the team, and the thing is, the only thing that would hurt them is if the goaltending of Anaheim goes absolutely unconscious, like they were against if they go unconscious like they were when they played against Edmonton, because the goaltending was the biggest difference in the game. So yeah, nothing more to say. I got the Golden Knights winning. Anthony, it's yours.
One series to go. This could have been our series right here too. Well, that by the way, Anaheim and Vegas, we could call that the Pacific Division final.
Yeah, this is the Atlantic Division final.
And what a matchup we got here. The Buffalo Sabres and the Montreal Canadiens. They are squaring off in this second round series. One game in, the series started last night in Buffalo, and the Buffalo Sabres winning the game by a score of 4-2. They're up 1-0. Game 2 in Buffalo tomorrow night before the series then shifts to Montreal for Game 3 on Mother's Day Sunday night. So 1-0 in favor of Buffalo. So MF, Buffalo taking down the Boston Bruins in 6 games, as we saw in that first round series. And how about the Montreal Canadiens? knocking off the other team that has been so. There have been two teams in the Eastern Conference that have put that conference on stranglehold: the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
Florida didn't even make it. Florida didn't even make it. So we're guaranteed a new Stanley Cup champion this year. Number two, Montreal took out Tampa in 7 games.
Yeah.
Buffalo and Montreal. Wow. Who do you got here?
You know what? I gotta say it. I think it's Buffalo. I
Mm,
really do. I think they made
told you.
believers out of all of us because of the fact that the way that they played. Tate Thompson, man, this kid is gonna be something.
Oh,
And I know a lot of people don't know him really well. And I think we're gonna start to realize, oh my God, this guy's a real threat. Because what he's been doing is the incredible play he has, it just makes him so unique and so amazing that I feel like this is probably going to be the guy that's going to become the next big star in the National Hockey League. I really do. I mean, he had an incredible performance in the Olympic Games. Remember, he did really well. But I really feel like this guy is going to be the next big name in the sport. And I think this may be his coming out moment. We'll see. But to me, at the end of the day, I do believe that Buffalo will win the series because I'm not really convinced about Montreal. Don't get me wrong. Montreal is a dangerous team. A few years ago, remember, they made it all the way to the cup final in that COVID year. So
right.
you can't dismiss them. And Suzuki is a dangerous player for Montreal.
Yes,
But
sir.
I just feel like defensively, and just the way that Buffalo won against the Bruins had a more physical style. And they were, and that was the one thing that I think why we always believed that they were going to win the series is that they're more dangerous, they're more aggressive, and Buffalo beat them. And they actually beat them by playing their game. They didn't fall into the trap like the Bruins did. They didn't fall into the trap of, oh, we need to be no. They played their style and they easily took the Bruins out. That was the shocking thing. They finessed them. They played the that zone defense and they did everything they needed to do to win that series. So I think Buffalo's the real deal. And oh, by the way, they were the number 2 seed coming out of the East.
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot dismiss Buffalo at all. I think we dismissed them because we all thought that that they're gonna that because the Bruins were more physical that they would easily muscle them out of the series, and made they made Michael Bullock, they made everybody eat our words except for Anthony. Anthony was probably one of the lone guys that went with Buffalo in that series,
Mm-hmm.
and he was right. So I underestimated Buffalo, and I'm not making that same mistake again.
Nope.
Buffalo in 7 is my prediction. Anthony, it's yours.
I told you about him. I told you about Buffalo when we did our first round preview. I told you. But anyways, this series will be must-see TV if for no other reason than the atmosphere in each building. It also helps that this is a battle of 2 evenly matched teams with a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals on the line. The X factor in this series may be how each team's top line performs, especially since they're trending in different directions after the first round. The Canadiens star trio of Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and Juraj Slavkovsky. They were great in the regular season, but they struggled mightily against Tampa Bay. Those three posted an expected goal share of 43.9% and a goal differential of -4 at 5 on 5 per natural stat trick. In Buffalo, Peyton Krebs, Alex Tuck, and the aforementioned Tage Thompson, they were outstanding against the Boston Bruins. Not only did they post a 5 on 5 expected goal share of 56.6%, but they got the results with a +6 goal differential. On one hand, it's impressive that Montreal got past Tampa Bay without its top line firing on all cylinders. On the other, if that continues against Buffalo, the Canadiens will be playing with fire. So I agree. I think it goes 7 again, but I do believe it's going to be the Buffalo Sabres. I believe in this team, man. I still think Colorado and Carolina are the two favorites, but if there's any team that can trip up either one of them, I think this is that team that can do it. So 7 games, give me the Buffalo Sabres. So with that being said, we gotta let's try to pick it up a little bit as we have
We'll
a
just
couple of
we'll just focus on the NBA playoff. We won't do the UFL this tonight. We'll just do the NBA playoffs and then call it.
okay. So we're gonna postpone the UFL to another day.
Yep,
Um,
but
so
we do need to pick up the pace. So I do agree
yeah,
with that.
okay, yeah. That's mainly because of the those breaking stories and the Sterling tribute, but they all needed to be done. So all right, second round of the NBA playoffs. They started this past Monday night, and we're gonna start it off with our first series, which will feature the number 7 seed, Philadelphia 76ers, squaring off against the number 3 seed, New York Knicks. Uh, we we are 2 games into this series, and the New York Knicks are up 2 games to none. Game 3 of this series will be tomorrow night in Philadelphia. So in that game will be exclusive on Amazon Prime Video. Both teams split. They played 4 games during the regular season. Both teams winning 2, so it's 2-2. This could be a carbon copy of the first round meeting in 2024 when Joel Embiid looked strong yet staggered through the series with injuries and the Knicks endured. Aside from Embiid and his health, the Sixers' main issue is whether they can handcuff Jalen Brunson. He could roam free more than usual if Brown sticks with his first round strategy of using Karl Anthony Towns as a facilitator. That's Coach Mike Brown. Not only did Karl Anthony Towns make his teammates better, but his own scoring was not sacrificed in the process. Towns will make Joel Embiid work at both ends, and he has Mitchell Robinson around to collect fouls against Embiid if necessary. The Knicks, therefore, can offer more counterpunches than the Sixers, who, because of Embiid's health or his health scares, will need Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and especially Paul George to all bring their A game to stagger New York and rewrite the script. Remarkable comeback by Philly in the first round against Boston, down 3 games to 1. The clear difference was the return of Joel Embiid. When Joel Embiid returned in that series, major momentum boost for Philly. And Boston just didn't have an answer, and then they lost their own franchise, Jason Tatum. And him being out for game 7, that was the big difference. He plays that game, who knows? We're probably talking about New York and Boston again. And how much fun would that have been? But this is still going to be fun because this is another old school NBA rivalry going back to the
Hmm.
70s and the 80s. So a renewal of a great rivalry. I'm still going to go with what I initially predicted going into this series. I had the New York Knicks winning this series, and I think they do it in 6 games. I can still see this going 6. I know the Knicks are up 2-0 right now, but I got to go with New York at least 6. So give me the New York Knicks to win the series. MF, New York and Philly kicking off the second round of the NBA playoffs here.
It all hinges on Joel Embiid's health. If Joel Embiid can come back and play in the next couple of games, then yes, I do believe it will go 6 with the Knicks winning. But I but if he doesn't, there's a very good chance this could end in 5. But I do believe the Knicks will win the series because I do believe that they have a chance to win at least one of these games. So there's really nothing more to say, and it is all yours. So I got New York winning and advancing. So yeah, go ahead.
How many games?
Between 5 and 6.
All right. Moving on to the Western Conference. Our next second round series will feature the number, I believe it's the number 6 seed or yeah, 6 seed, Minnesota Timberwolves, They're going to be squaring off against the number 2 seed in the West, the San Antonio Spurs. Series tied at 1 game apiece. Minnesota stole the first game, 104-102 in San Antonio Monday night. But then San Antonio absolutely smashed Minnesota, 133-95 last night to even the series at a game apiece.
Yeah.
Game 3, series shifts to Minnesota tomorrow night. So that, and I do believe that game will also be, yes, it will also be on Amazon Prime Video. So, they played 3 times in the regular season. Believe it or not, Minnesota won 2 out of 3. So that's the story here. Series tied at a game apiece. So MF, Minnesota, San Antonio, who's going to the Western Conference Finals? Although we already know based on our when we did our first round preview, but let us know
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm not gonna go against it. I said San Antonio. I still believe it's San Antonio. This is gonna be a rougher series. I think this could go 6 to 7 games. I'm in more inclined to say 7, but I do got the San Antonio Spurs coming out and moving on to the Western Conference Finals. So, Anthony, it's yours.
The difference for me is Anthony Edwards. If Anthony Edwards were ready to go from the start, we might have a 7-game classic on our hands. But barring a key injury on the Spurs side, aka Victor Wembanyama, as this plays out, it's hard to imagine Minnesota having enough scoring to slow San Antonio's roll. Certainly, its dominance in the paint against Denver will need to be reconfigured, with Wembanyama guarding the rim. Backup 7-footer Luke Cornett is a solid plan B when the big guy sits, a star in his role, a double-double man for 36 minutes. And San Antonio's backcourt rotation and overall depth provide Coach Mitch Johnson with the flexibility to react or dictate styles as the case requires. Initially, I had San Antonio winning this series in 5, but I could see this going 6. I don't know about 7, but between 5 and 6, but I do agree it is San Antonio. I have San Antonio winning the series. So moving on to the other Eastern Conference series, it will feature the number 4 seed, the Cleveland Cavaliers, squaring off against the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, the Detroit Basketball Pistons. That series is tied at a game apiece. Actually, no, I stand corrected. Detroit up 2-0. Detroit winning game 1, 111-101 on Tuesday. And Detroit won again tonight, 107-97. So they're up 2-0. The series will shift to Cleveland for game 3, a special Saturday afternoon matinee, Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern. And it will be on NBC and Peacock. So Detroit up 2-0. And I know it's 2-0, but I'm not counting out this Cleveland team yet. My initial thought was I had Detroit winning this series, and I had it in 7. I'm starting to think possibly that 5 to 6 range now, with Detroit up 2-0. But Cleveland is tough to beat in Cleveland. The Cavaliers exhaled more than the Pistons when they survived their first round scare against Toronto, because they're trying to get this right to make for some recent postseason disappointments. Some Detroit backers were ready to throw in the towel on that 24-point deficit versus Orlando in Game 6. But the comeback, Game 7 smackdown, and whatever remains to the Pistons' 2026 postseason is about the here and now. Coaches J.B. Bickerstaff and Kenny Atkinson will say that each team is better for what it weathered over the last 2 weeks. We'll find out, but Detroit's banging, disruptive defense, I believe, can grind down the Cavs over a long series. Originally 7, but I'm leaning more towards 5 and 6 now. But regardless, I have the Detroit Pistons winning this series and moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals, possibly against the New York Knicks. What a series that would be if it happens. So, originally 7, but around 5 or 6. But regardless, I got Detroit winning the series. MF, Cleveland and Detroit.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting series. I'm with you on that one too. I kind of feel like they're going to win. I got Detroit also winning it. I'm going to go 6. I think they're gonna win it in six. I kind of feel like they're gonna get there, no doubt about it. So, one series to go, and we'll go from there, Anthony.
Yes, indeed. And it is in the Western Conference. And this this features in the West the number 4 seed, the Los Angeles Lakers, squaring off against the number 1 seed and your reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champions, Oklahoma City Thunder. Game one on Tuesday night, the Oklahoma City Thunder winning it by a score of 108-90. We got game two on right now at this hour on Amazon Prime Video.
Yep.
It's in the fourth quarter, and the Thunder leading by a count of 102-94 with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, looking for a 2-0 series lead before the series shifts to Los Angeles for game three on Saturday night. And that will be on ABC as part of the ABC Saturday Night Game of the Week package. So they played 4 times in the regular season. OKC won all 4 games. They swept the Lakers 4 in a row
Yep.
in the regular season. So not much more. MF, Lakers and Thunder, who you got?
I got the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they're just the more superior team, better defensively, better with everything. If Luca comes back, I think that may change it a little bit. But right now, the way they're just playing, and I know SGA, Shea Gildas Alexander's been dealing with a little bit of an issue lately, but I really believe that they'll be fine. I got the Oklahoma City Thunder winning the game, and they're winning it in six. So Thunder win it. Floor is yours.
Oklahoma City appears focused and has too much talent and depth for the Lakers to overcome in a best-of-7 series. I got the Thunder winning it in 5. Give me OKC. So with that, that will put the bow on this edition of TXN Sports World. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. We will be back with you again tomorrow night at 11 p.m. immediately following SmackDown. Head on over to MF's channel, Braves Fan 95, for another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, and we have to start the show on a somber note again. It was my turn tonight, a close-to-home death for me with the death of John Sterling, but tomorrow night it will be a lot closer to home for MF because we're going to be paying our respects to Ted Turner. He was known for wrestling. Yes, he was, because he did buy WCW in the 90s. And of course, the fact that he was also the owner of MF's team, the Atlanta Braves, especially those memorable when they won the World Series in '95. Those shots of him and Jane Fonda celebrating with everybody. So, yeah. But we'll get into that tomorrow. We'll pay our respects to Ted Turner, and we'll also get into TNA Impact. A new champion crowned tonight. Who was that new champion? Well, you'll find out. And then we got Friday Night SmackDown, and then we will preview the Backlash pay-per-view. And then Saturday night, it will be our recap of the Backlash pay-per-view. Obviously, no show on Sunday because you know what that is. And then, of course, obviously, and then Tuesday, we do it all over again, Ridiculously Raw, Monday Night Raw, and NXT. And either next week or the week after, depending on when they decide to do it, I can confirm that our next TXN Sports World broadcast will be our annual NFL schedule release special. Oh boy, I cannot wait. You know how we do that. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, this is Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, Michael Bullock. And of course, always in forever, our First Lady, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up, Fortune Forest style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, you've been watching TXN Sports World right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one for now, Anthony Florio. So long, and bye, everybody. Bye.